a Wikividi Documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Cletus Kasady. Cletus Kasady is a fictional supervillain appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. The character first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man 44 and became the first and most well-known host of the Carnage symbiote in The Amazing Spider-Man 60. Kasady was created by writer David Michelinie and artist Erik Larsen. He is usually depicted as an adversary to Spider-Man, as well as serving as an enemy to Venom. In 2009, Carnage was ranked as IGN's 90th greatest comic book villain of all time. Publication history. Writer David Michelinie intended to have Venom's human alter ego, Eddie Brock, be killed off in The Amazing Spider-Man 00 and have the symbiote continue to bond with a series of hosts. However, as Brock and Venom's popularity increased, Marvel would not allow him to be killed. Michelinie decided to create a new character, a total psychopath who, unlike Venom, had no sense of morality. The human component of Carnage's first host, Cletus Kasady, was designed by artist Erik Larsen, who modeled the character after the DC Comics supervillain the Joker. Kasady was introduced in The Amazing Spider-Man 44 and first appears as Carnage in issue 61. He and the Carnage symbiote is the main villain in the 1993 Maximum Carnage crossover, a 14-part storyline crossover that spanned through all the Spider-Man titles. In 1996, two one-shot comics centered entirely around Carnage were released, entitled Carnage, Mind Bomb and Carnage, It's a Wonderful Life, both of which expand on his character. After a 2004 appearance in New Avengers, the character was presumed dead and was absent from comics for nearly 6 years. A 2010-2011 limited series titled Carnage featured the return of Kasady as Carnage. The comic was released as a tie-in to the Big Time storyline in The Amazing Spider-Man. This was followed by another 5-issue limited series titled Carnage USA and published 2011-2012. Carnage was next seen in the 2012 Minimum Carnage crossover storyline between Scarlet Spider Volume 2, Venom Volume 2, and two one-shots titled Minimum Carnage Alpha and Minimum Carnage Omega. The character crosses over with the Superior Spider-Man in the 2013 5-issue limited series called Superior Carnage written by Kevin Shinick. In 2015, it was announced that Jerry Conway and Mike Perkins would be launching a new Carnage series, starting in November 2015, as part of Marvel's post-Secret Wars relaunch. Early life. Kasady is a sociopath and a homicidal sadist. He is a deeply disturbed individual with a dark past. As a child, he killed his grandmother by pushing her down a flight of stairs, tried to murder his mother by throwing a hairdryer into her bathtub, and tortured and killed his mother's dog with a drill. After the latter, his mother then tried to kill Kasady and was apparently beaten to the brink of death by Kasady's father, who received no defense from Kasady during the trial. As an orphan, Kasady was sent to the St. Estes Home for Boys, where his antisocial behavior made him the target of abuse from both the other orphans and the staff. Kasady gained revenge by murdering the disciplinarian administrator, pushing a girl in front of a moving bus, and burning down the orphanage. It was during his brutal years at St. Estes that Kasady acquired his philosophy that life was essentially meaningless and futile, that laws are only words, and came to see the spreading of chaos through random, unpatterned bloodshed as the ultimate freedom. Rebirth. Kasady became a serial killer. He was then captured and sent to Rikers Island prison for 11 murders, though he bragged about killing a dozen more, where he shared a cell with Eddie Brock, the host of the alien symbiote that turns into the supervillain Venom. When Brock's symbiote soon returned to be bonded again, allowing Venom to escape prison, the symbiote unknowingly left its offspring in the cell. Due to its alien mindset, The symbiote felt no emotional attachment to its offspring, regarding it as insignificant, and thus never communicated its existence to Brock via their telepathic link. The new symbiote then bonded with Cassidy, transforming him into Carnage. The bond between the Carnage symbiote and Cassidy was stronger than the bond between Brock and the Venom symbiote. As a result, Carnage is far more violent, powerful, and deadly than Venom. He escaped prison and began a series of murders, and at the scene of each crime, wrote "Carnage" on the walls with his own blood. He was found by Spider-Man. Though the hero proved to be no match for Carnage's powers, in desperation, Spider-Man made a truce with Venom to fight Carnage. The Carnage symbiote was defeated and apparently destroyed with sonic weaponry. But unbeknownst to them, the symbiote's deeper equilibrium with its host helped to save it. After entering Cassidy's body through a small cut, it bonded to his blood. Maximum Carnage. Cassidy is taken to the Vault, a prison for supervillains, then Ravencroft Institute, a facility for the superhuman criminally insane. A doctor at the facility, hoping to find a cure for his madness, draws blood from him, unwittingly enabling Cassidy to transform into Carnage, who goes on to recruit an army of psychopathic supervillains including Shriek, Demogoblin, Carrion, and Doppelganger to take over New York City. Using Shriek's psychic channel powers, he also drives ordinary New Yorkers to attack one another. Carnage and his family are ultimately driven back by Spider-Man, Venom and a number of other superheroes and super anti-heroes, with Carnage and Shriek being remanded to Ravencroft. Web of Carnage. During a subsequent jailbreak, he made it his mission to kill his only childhood friend Billy Bentime, hoping to refute the notion that friendship should be paid in kind. Carnage nearly defeated Spider-Man until Bentime tricked Carnage into reverting to human form, enabling Spider-Man to knock out Cassidy with a simple punch. Though bonded to Cassidy's bloodstream, the symbiote found a way to ditch its host by traveling through the Institute's water pipes, its absence leaving Cassidy increasingly weakened. Initially taking control of John Jameson before it eventually transferred itself to Spider-Man, Riley attempted to destroy the symbiote by subjecting himself to a potentially lethal burst of microwave energy. But the symbiote fled back to the weakening Cassidy. Later, Cassidy was able to escape his prison when a new governor at Ravencroft decided to try and save money by turning off some of the defenses around Cassidy's cell. Underestimating the level of awareness the symbiote had of its surroundings, during this escape, it was confronted by Spider-Man and the Silver Surfer. The symbiote, driven to a panic due to genetic memories of Galactus devouring a planet of symbiotes, parting from Cassidy and bonding to the Surfer to stop him, while Spider-Man was forced to take Cassidy to the hospital. Learning that the killer was dying of a stomach cancer that had been kept in check by the symbiote, Spider-Man was forced to help the Surfer return the symbiote to Cassidy to save his life. But the Surfer then sealed Cassidy in an unbreakable prison in an attempt to force him to reflect on his sins for eternity. Death and Resurrection. Having tracked Cassidy to a prison specially designed to hold him, how he escaped Silver Surfer's prison was never established. Venom eventually reabsorbs the Carnage symbiote into his own body, for good. Without the symbiote, Cassidy attempts to reassume the Carnage persona by costuming himself in red paint and continuing his killing sprees, claiming that he still possesses at least some of Carnage's strength, and convinced that he only needs to kill Spider-Man and Venom to regain his symbiote. But Spider-Man nevertheless easily defeats him in a fight. Cassidy later ended in the negative zone, where he was guided by the remnants of the Carnage symbiote to another symbiote that was kept sealed somewhere in the zone, and as he bonded with it, allowed the remnants of the Carnage symbiote to absorb it in the process, and resurrect itself to once again become Carnage. Family Feud. It is revealed that Cassidy is alive, his body preserved by the symbiote and repaired by Hall's prosthetics. Cassidy reclaims the symbiote and becomes Carnage once more, attempting to avenge his captivity while Spider-Man and Iron Man struggle to stop him. It is then revealed that Carnage is once again pregnant, and the suit's Spawn briefly bonds to Shriek before being torn from her, scared of Shriek's malice. The symbiote arm then bonds to Tannis, creating a new hero, Scorn, who defeats Shriek and forces her to use her Sonic Shriek to weaken Carnage for Spider-Man and Iron Man. Carnage, however, escapes with the doppelganger and swears to make a bloody comeback. Carnage USA. In the aftermath of his return, Carnage sets off west to Dothan, Colorado. He bonds most of the town to copies of his symbiote. Captain America, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Hawkeye and the Thing attempt to defeat him, but all except Spider-Man are bonded to copies. With the Avengers team compromised and Spider-Man out of communication, they send in another team consisted of symbiote-enhanced special forces, Drive. Tanis Nieves as Scorn goes along with the separated parts of Hybrid which make up Agony, Phage, Riot, and Lasher, but they are heavily outnumbered since Carnage controls the entire town. Captain America breaks free of his hold long enough to make an emergency call for backup to none other than Venom. Flash Thompson in the Venom symbiote sets off to Colorado to kill Carnage. The enhanced special forces keep fighting, but Carnage sends the controlled Avengers after them. That was when Spider-Man comes with the unaffected residents of the town. The melee is particularly fierce when Venom intervenes with sonic rounds. Venom is about to kill Carnage with a gun in the mouth, but Spider-Man stops him before Venom or Carnage can recover. Scorn uses a construction vehicle to carry the two to a device she built. She reveals that her device is meant to permanently remove the bonds from Carnage and Venom, but the hosts are still in there, leaving Cassidy alone with a legless Flash Thompson. After the symbiotes fighting with themselves and the Avengers team, Venom finds its way back to Flash Thompson while Scorn is able to capture and contain the Carnage symbiote. The series ends with Cassidy being captured and dragged into the back of a prison vehicle. Minimum Carnage. Carnage escapes prison yet again with the help of Microns. Agent Venom is sent to the prison and discovers Cassidy has escaped. Carnage flees to Houston, Texas and causes havoc, attracting the attention of the Scarlet Spider. Carnage takes the scientist Dr. Kettler, an expert in interdimensional transportation, as a hostage and escapes into the Microverse. He is defeated by Venom and Scarlet Spider, who use a sonic bomb from the Microverse to temporarily separate Cassidy from the symbiote. Scarlet Spider then impales Cassidy through the eye, lobotomizing him. Carnage goes into a catatonic state. The symbiote is keeping his body alive, similar to a life support system, but Cassidy's brain and mind are believed to be irreparably damaged, leaving the symbiote in control. Superior Carnage. Cassidy, now lobotomized, later broken out of prison by the Wizard and Claw, who intend to recruit him into the Frightful Four and turn him into their own version of Venom. Carnage breaks free from Wizard's control and nearly kills him, but is subdued by Claw. Taking Carnage into their hideout, Wizard tries to take control of Cassidy's mind, but fails due to it being too damaged. Wizard then transfers the symbiote to Dr. Carl Malice, who dubs himself Superior Carnage. Wizard blows up the hideout with Cassidy still inside, seemingly killing him, while storming the city hall. Superior Carnage states that Cassidy was a fool who wasted so much time on chaos while there was much more to be accomplished with a little focus. Ultimately, Spider-Man brings out Cassidy's body to successfully draw the symbiote into it, which immediately devours Dr. Malice and then prepares to finish off the Wizard. However, Claw Ephemeral Spirit focuses his sound manipulation powers one last time for a split second to create a powerful sonic blast that disables Carnage, allowing the symbiote to be recaptured. In the epilogue, it is shown that the symbiote has managed to repair the Wizard's and Cassidy's brain damage, followed by Cassidy writing "Carnage rules" on his cell wall. A piece of the symbiote escapes containment, and sets out in search of Cassidy, who is bedridden due to having been stabbed by a fellow prison inmate. A doctor, anticipating that the symbiote will come seeking Cassidy, smothers the killer in the infirmary, wanting the alien for himself. When the symbiote breaks into the facility, the doctor offers himself to the creature, but it rejects him, and returns to Cassidy after resuscitating him. Carnage proceeds to asphyxiate the doctor, rampage through the prison, and escape. Deadpool vs. Carnage. Much later, Carnage clashed with Deadpool, believing it was his own destiny to hunt Carnage. When Carnage tore Deadpool to pieces, Deadpool bonded with the four symbiotes Phage, Riot, Lasher, and Agony. Bonded with the four symbiotes, Deadpool tricked Shriek into thinking she killed Carnage. After that, Deadpool tricked Carnage by forcing Shriek to impersonate Deadpool, and Carnage wounded Shriek in the process. Afterwards, Carnage, now broken that he almost killed Shriek, allows himself to be arrested by authorities and placed in an unlocked cell, waiting to be his own man. As he waited to be his own man, Carnage vowed revenge against Deadpool for tricking him. Axis. During the Axis storyline, Magneto starts to recruit villains in order to combat the Red Onslaught. He manages to convince Carnage by saying he'll cause more chaos by becoming a savior, and so Carnage agrees. When he sees Deadpool, he tells him that they are going to have words after this. During the battle with Red Onslaught, Dr. Doom and the Scarlet Witch cast a spell which alters the moralities of almost everyone present, Carnage included. Filled with the irresistible urge to be a hero, Carnage returns to New York and goes around saving people, largely oblivious to the fact that he is causing more harm than good. This is proven when Spider-Man finds that Carnage had saved a family from Squid and his gang, the Tentacles. At the same time, a new Sin Eater is murdering journalists, which unscrupulous reporter Alice Gleason uses to try and boost her popularity by feigning severe distress over the killings. Believing Alice's crocodile tears, and convinced that she is a kind-hearted and empathic person, Carnage rescues her from Sin Eater and abducts her with the intent of having Alice teach him how to be a great hero. However, after Carnage defeats Sin Eater by overloading his foe with all his old sins, Alice turns on Carnage and convinces the police that he has been attacking her. But the inverted Carnage simply concludes that she is teaching him that a true hero must be alone to protect others, and swings away. Faced with the threat of the morally inverted Avengers seeking to enforce their power, and the inverted X-Men working with Apocalypse to take control of Manhattan, Spider-Man and the aged Steve Rogers are forced to work with Magneto and the astonishing Avengers of Carnage and the other inverted villains. Although unable to destroy the X-Men's gene bomb, which would have killed all humans in the blast radius, Carnage sacrifices himself to contain the blast with his own symbiote. Spider-Man describing Cassidy's sacrifice as the worst man he ever knew doing the most noble thing he'd ever seen. With the crisis concluded, Peter Parker sets out to create a gold and rhinestone memorial to Carnage as he promised Cassidy he would before his sacrifice. After the heroes and villains are inverted, a videotape is released in which the astonishing Avengers, with Carnage as their spokesman, proclaim themselves to be the Axis of Evil, taking responsibility for the Avengers and the X-Men's actions during the inversion at the cost of their own brief time as heroes. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?